Hello everyone, I'm Ishka. I'm a seer, a channeler, a tarot reader, a healer. I wasn't going to record a video today, but this morning I got a channeled message from Arthur Mac Aedan, one of my ancestors, who is the main person that they think was probably what our legend of King Arthur was based on. But today, I really just wanted to tell you what he said, just to give everyone a little bit of hope with everything that's going on at the moment. I'm not even gonna, haven't even typed it out. I'm gonna read it straight from my channeling notebook, so which I have here. So Arthur always begins his messages, Arthur wishes to speak. So that's how it will begin, and then there'll be some random double meanings in there, which we'll need to go over afterwards. So, this morning, Arthur wishes to speak. I have held back from the final charge. Time waits for no man, even Trump. His time approaches, a reckoning. Stars fall when it is time. America must wait for the sign. Then he showed me jelly, which in my understanding, being English and not American, is what you call jello, right? He showed me pink jello in a mold. Then he says, the antenna is set to north. We will prevail even though they resist. The dark cannot win. They have drowned their own souls in the vat of carnage. Courage is key now. Stand up and be counted if you have the opportunity, or stand firm if you do not. There are those that are required now and those that are required after. Lion hearts breed more. Lion hearts, I think he means. Blindness is not an excuse. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Time waits for no man, even him, Trump. The time to charge is when your enemy is already weakened. Be not weak. Stand firm. Determination and resolve is the friend of the just. Walk through the rubble into truth and justice. Things cannot be the same, will not be the same. This is necessary for the blind to see. Then he shows me jelly, again, jello, this pink jello in a mold. And then he says, hearts and minds, hearts and minds. Tenfold are the horsemen. He has made sure of that. Cursed himself, cursed his friends. And he showed me inverted commas when he said that. They will burn. The White House will burn. He will burn it down with him in it, as it should be, never to return as it was. It ends now and new begins. Do not be afraid. The new is goodness if you hold firm in your hearts the conviction to move forward as one. Then he shows me pink jello again, and he calls it jello this time. So he's obviously speaking to Americans if he started to use the word jello, because that is not what we use here. Time, it's time, it's time. The clock strikes 12. Will you flinch or will you remain standing to toil to restore justice to the broken lands? The old peoples, and then he shows me First Nationers, the old peoples know what is coming. They have had centuries to prepare. Ask them what comes next and how you join them to walk the path into the light and into the good. Then he quotes Susan Cooper here, her book, The Dark is Rising, and he says, when the dark comes rising, 6 shall turn it back, 3 from the circle, 3 from the track. The brink of war, the cusp, but on the other side is his own destruction. Have faith, it is true. blessings. Now, there's a lot of multiple layered images in there. So I'm just going to quickly go through the bits that I think stand out because there's actually, he doesn't normally give us dates and things like that, but there's actually a couple of elements in there that might point to timings. So I'm going to go back over them. So after he says Arthur wishes to speak and he says he's held back from the charge, and then later on he says that's because the enemy is not yet weakened. Um, he says his reckoning approaches effectively, and he says stars fall when it is time for Trump's reckoning. So the meteor showers, I immediately was drawn to the meteor showers. So we're in the middle of a meteor shower at the moment. But he says stars will fall when this happens. So he's not talking about the meteor shower that's happening now. He's talking about the meteor showers that are coming. So there is a meteor shower due between the 21st and 23rd of April 2026, and it is the Lyrid meteor shower. Now, this is very interesting because the Lyrid translate from ancient Greek, which we are getting loads of ancient Greek at the moment. Lyrids translates as stars that fall from lyra or a lyre, which is a musical instrument. But I don't think it is lost on me that it says it's falling from a lyre as well. And a lot of people are calling the current president of the US that. So stars will fall from a lyre on the 21st to 23rd of April 2026. Arthur draws our attention to this time. Now, interesting, Lyra is also one of the main characters in a book called His Dark Materials. And I think a lot of people are feeling that it's dark at the moment. And His Dark Materials, if you're not familiar with it, is a book by Philip Pullman. And Lyra is one of the characters. She's a young girl, she's an innocent, and she is responsible for bringing down an authoritarian, fundamentalist, right-wing Christian, but religious regime in the book called the Magisterium, who use religion to control. And actually, their behavior is very far from holy. I cannot fail to see the parallels here. So we could be talking when these stars fall for his reckoning, the 21st to the 23rd of April. Or the next meteor shower is the Perseids, and that's mid-August. Perhaps something's going to happen at the end of April and happen mid-August. The Lyrids stand out for me in April hugely. However, the Perseids are linked to Perseus, who slayed the Gorgon. And that isn't lost on me either. Any astrologers out there, please let me know if Algol, the decapitation star that is linked to Medusa, is in the sky in any way in an interesting place when the Perseids meteor shower is going to be here in late August, because there's definitely something about that as well, that timing. This jello he keeps showing me, this pink jello, it's still in the mold, so it's not formed. And considering what Gwyn ap Nuith was saying to us the other day about, when you hit an obstacle, flow round like water. And I know that's another saying by someone else as well. It escapes me who said it. When I hit a wall, flow round like water. Or may I be water. This jello, it's in the mold, so it's forming its shape, but it's not set yet. And it's pink, and it's in a fabulous copper, old-fashioned copper mold, and it's fun, and it's lovely. So I think what Arthur is saying here is, have faith that something good, something fun, something lovely will come of this, but it's not yet formed. It's still forming. It's in this jello mold. Um, then he says later on, courage is key now. And I think keys obviously are symbols of unlocking things, of going through a door, of thresholds, of obtaining knowledge. So I don't think that's by accident either. Um, when he says lion hearts breed more, he means lion hearts breed more lion hearts. So those of you who are courageous at this time and have the opportunity to be courageous, but only if it's in your path, because he said that before, you will inspire more people to be courageous, is what he's saying. Um, he said, as if you don't have the opportunity to be courageous at that time, if it's not in your path to do so, don't put yourself in harm's way, but stand firm in your convictions, that you have kindness in you and to remain so. Don't lose heart. Don't be filled with fear. Um, Then he says, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Now, this is really interesting because this is a quote from Matthew in the New Testament. I had to look this up because I'm, not au fait with what bits of the Bible say what, unless they're, famous parables. And this particular phrase, the last shall be first and the first shall be last, comes from Matthew, the parable of the workers, which I think is not by accident as well, that he's talking about the people. Um, and then he says, what else did I want to say? He says, hearts and minds, hearts and minds. Now, I knew this saying, but I didn't know where from. So I looked it up. And a British general said it in 1950, who, interesting, was called General Templar. May or may not be important. Um, and also, Lyndon Johnson said it, um, about winning over people's hearts and minds in the Vietnam War. However, the original saying comes from somewhere very interesting indeed. It comes from John Adams, who, for those who don't know, was an American revolutionary and patriot who became the second ever independent president of the United States. And he wrote in 1818 about the American Revolution. And that is where this quote comes from. This quote, hearts and minds, that Arthur says to us today is from a letter written by John Adams to his friend, let me pronounce this right, Hezekiah Niles. And it could be this quote is from any of those people, General Templar, Lyndon Johnson, or John Adams. However, the date that the letter is written is one of my children's birthdays. And I think Arthur knew that the date on this letter would stand out to me. So I know that Arthur is quoting Hearts and Minds from this letter from John Adams, the second president after the American Revolution. And let me read you the context of this. John Adams writes to his friend, but what do we mean by the American Revolution? Do we mean the American War? The revolution was effected before the war commenced. The revolution was in the hearts and minds of the people. And that's where Arthur got his quote from today. I found that very moving. So Adams here is talking about ideological change and a cultural and moral transformation. But I think it's very important that Arthur chooses to quote from a revolutionary who was a patriot, and not a Confederate. That is important. Um, and then Arthur says, tenfold are the horsemen. Now, I want to talk about where the phrase tenfold comes from. It's another Bible quote, which I had to look up. Now, the numbers with fold after them comes from Exodus 22, right? Which also isn't lost on me because there's a lot of people leaving America right now for what's going on. I'm just going to have a sip of tea. Right. So in Exodus, it sets out the punishments for those who steal, basically. And so a sheep must be repaid fourfold, an ox fivefold. And these are the divine laws of the land. And so he's talking about here wrongdoing, creating a multiplied debt. And 10 is the number of the commandments. And in Jewish law, and tenfold, the phrase tenfold, is shorthand for the divine repayment of debt. That wasn't lost on me. So, tenfold are the horsemen. So, Arthur is saying here that a divine payment of debt is coming. And Arthur has previously spoken to me about the four horsemen arriving. Obviously, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, but he showed me First Nationers coming back as like their right to not in revenge, but almost like it was fitting that the four horsemen were First Nationers. And now he's saying tenfold are the horsemen. Trump has made sure of that. He has cursed himself. I thought that image of divine retribution being multiplied now for the debt that has been accrued that is was quite telling. Um, and then when he quotes Susan Cooper, you may not be familiar with a book called The Dark is Rising. It's actually part of a sequence of books, the Dark is Rising sequence, and it's all to do with the dark rising up and the light rising up to meet it, and for like a famous last um, epic battle between light and dark, basically, that's going to decide it for millennia, potentially forever, which obviously has parallels to what we're experiencing now. And the quote he chooses is when the dark comes rising, six shall turn it back, three from the circle, three from the track. And when Arthur said three from the circle, he showed me the NATO circular meeting table or that they use. So I think Arthur's saying here that three NATO countries are going to stand up to what Trump is doing. And then he says three from the track. Now, a track is an unmade road, right? But it's used by lots of people. So three from the track to me means people who are walking the road or people, countries, whatever, three something, three people, three countries, three leaders, something will help, but they're not uh, prominent people now. They're people in the background because this is an unformed road, an unmade up road, a track. So I think these people aren't people who are fully in power now. They're kind of in a backseat position, all countries, but they're going to step forward with these three NATO countries to take steps to deal with this. So I think that's what he's saying when he talks about that. Just ask Arthur with some cards. I've got the I'm going to show you the Mists of Avalon. Oh, you can't see it. There you go. The Mists of Avalon cards, Oracle cards by Rose and Sarah, illustrated by Nadia Turner. I quite like these cards, but I don't use them very often. I use them primarily to talk with Arthur if I need to clarify anything. So let's ask him. Um, is there anything else you'd like to add to your message, Arthur? Mac Aedan, is there anything else you'd like to add to your message from today? The card that's come out is Morgan Le Fay, and that is the card of prophecy and fate. But it's also the card of intuition. Um, and I think here, if we use our intuition and we go into our hearts, we will know the right thing to do in the moment. But I think he's saying that this, whatever's happening now, is fated. Morgan was Arthur's sister. It means sea-born, Morgan. And the card underneath the deck is the White Hart. That is also the card of prophecy in Brythonic Celtic culture. And it is the card of realignment and perspective and new beginnings and awakening. It's also not lost on me that both these cards, the underlying energy of the White Hart and Morgan Le Fay, the prophetess, are both in the forest, although Camelot, the fabled city, is in the background. I mean, we could use the fall of Camelot as an analogy for what's happening now in the US, couldn't we? You know, that shining beacon of the West eventually crumbling. But they're in the forest, and Gwyn ap Nuith's last message to us was about going back into nature and going back into ourselves. Let's see if Arthur, the card underneath the White Hart was Arthur. Look at that. The underlying energy is the White Hart and Arthur. Amazing. Right, let's see if he's got anything else to say. Got anything else to say? You want us anything else out of this message, Arthur? Would you like to add anything else at all to tell anyone who is listening to this? A load have fallen on the floor. Load, that's too many. Let's see what the underlying card is. The underlying card is the unicorn, and that is the card of rebirth. Got an owl up there. That's transformation. And here, the unicorn, the mystical, perhaps extinct creature, if they ever were. The stones here, the ancestors in the background. There's a definite transformation and you're on a journey element to this. And underneath this card is the truth, the ultimate truth, Excalibur. And in Arthur's last message, if you go on my Substack, you'll see, I'll try and put a link up here, but I might not. You'll see that he talked about Excalibur, which Arthur called Caliban, which was its original, or one of its original names, rising up again, coming back. So that's interesting. So here we have in the underlying energies, the undercurrent, we have a fabled period of change, transition, realignment. Arthur himself, the king, the journey, the transition of the king to the ultimate truth. And this is the divine truth as well. This is also can be used to represent Archangel Michael's sword of truth as well. So there's definitely some truths coming for somebody that and potentially divine retribution. So the cards that all fell out in a huge pile on the floor were Camelot, which again we saw in the background, which are about trust and honor and ideals and chivalric type ideals. So honor and honesty and trust. And Arthur's trying to say here, go into your heart and look who you really are. This is causing all of you to really question where your loyalties lie, what's important to you, and to find your courage, even if it's not on your path to directly be in any sort of confrontation. I'm certainly not saying you should be. It's about having the courage of your convictions and inspiring others. He said, "Lion hearts breed more lion hearts." And I think he's saying that if more of you find your courage, it's infectious, you know? The next card is the Isle of Avalon. This is a card of healing. Morgan took Arthur's body to Avalon to well, we think to try and heal him or to bury him. So this is this is interesting. This is this could be the White House, couldn't it? This could be the White House falling or burning, he said. He said it was going to burn, didn't he? I wonder if there's going to be a fire. Um, and then healing, taking the body back to pay your respects, the body of whatever has been ruined or ended, and taking it back to a place to basically put it to rest, once and for all. Um, the next card is the card of balance. It's the card of Chalice Hill. This is balance. This is yin and yang. This is the light and the dark, finding their natural equilibrium. It's also wellness and faith, having faith that things are going to be all right, and they will be. Um, the next card is Nimue. She was a lady of the lake, one of them. Um, this is the card of opportunity. See this as an opportunity. It's also the card of self-esteem and self-respect. Um, I think he's asking you, it's that theme of courage again, isn't he? To really dig deep and go in and really look at who you are in your essence and know that that's good and that you're on the side of right and you're on the side of good. And things will rebalance and things will be well again. And he says, all shall be well, and all shall be well. Gwyn in his last message, all shall be well. Again, the card of truth is one of the ones that fell out. Glastonbury Tour, the card of truth. And it's not lost on me that this is also the image of in the Isle of Avalon card, where, you know, where we were talking about putting things to rest. And is the truth going to bury them? Potentially. Again, a card. This is Branwen. She was really done wrong by her husband, Matholwich, and he kept her prisoner. She was a princess of Wales, and they sent her to Ireland to marry Matholwich in the Mabinogion, which is the ancient Welsh texts. And he actually put her to work in the kitchen and then imprisoned her. And she used birds to get her message across to her brother Bran, who came and saved her. This is a card of balance and sacrifice and of letting go, but of also being supported, of trusting it will be okay, but using your intelligence to help you survive until the help comes, the support comes, that you are going to be supported in this. These three from the circle, three from the track. I definitely think that there's potentially other countries that are going to step up here because she was in another country, Branwen. She was in Ireland and she was Welsh. I think there's a definite theme here of other countries stepping forward to help you in whatever way they can, which is interesting because, it would take them to find their courage as well to stand against what was an ally. Um, and then we have the Chalice Well, which is the card of sanctuary. It's also the card of the divine feminine. This is the female well in Glastonbury. We have the white spring and the red spring, and this is the red spring's well. And this is being in the flow, being creative and using your intellect to find a way through and keep yourself safe. It's Mother Earth, but it's also, it doesn't say this on the card, but I know because I've been there. This is a place people go to grieve. This is a place women who are rising up in their power go to grieve as well. This is the spring where goddess initiates are finish their training and are initiated in Glastonbury. So this is the divine feminine rising up in its righteous anger. Other women going to stand up to Trump? Is this the women? It might be. We've had Branwyn, we've had Morgan Le Fay, we've had Nimue, we've got a woman on Chalice Hill. We've got no men come out, no cards with men on. Are the women going to stand up to him? Will the women bring him down? But it's also saying it's okay to grieve. Yes, we're flowing into the new. Yes, there is destruction. It's okay to be sad, but also be righteous in your anger and your determination to find sanctuary for people who need it, but also to move forward. Use that grief, use that divine feminine rage to move forward in the right direction. This is a lovely message from Arthur. And then the last card that came out in that huge heap is the Holy Thorn. Now, this is a tree that is fabled to have been brought to Glastonbury by Joseph of Arimathea. So this is the inheritance. This tree is the inheritance of the land from the Holy Lands, basically. This is something that grows from righteous truth. This came from the place where Jesus came from. Um, and this represents optimism. He's saying, have faith that it will be okay, regardless of your religion. Stay strong in your conviction, in your heart space, that little quiet seed deep within you that is the only quiet space sometimes in all this chaos. There you know the truth. There is your sanctuary. And he's saying, be optimistic from that space, that it's going to be okay. All is not lost. In fact, he's saying, and this is also the card of courage as well, he's saying, be optimistic, have courage. There is a divine protective force with you all. Now, regardless of your religion, there's a definite undercurrent here that if you persevere and you stick to your convictions and you're on the side of kindness, regardless of where you stand in the political spectrum, if you have compassion and kindness and you stop fighting with each other and come together to defeat the greater darkness and persevere and are optimistic that you can, that this is going to come good, I think. I think that you're going to fix this. He's telling you to be optimistic, and there's a rebalancing happening. And I think that's a really, this is a card of ultimate truth and victory. I think here, the card underneath those cards and underlying is Arianod, who is a goddess. And this is a card of karma. This is all your chickens coming home to roost, and that's not a comfortable place to be. A fate, this was fated. That the only way this space could be made, the only way, like Arthur says, blindness is not an excuse, and this is for the blind to see. This is the only way that the blind will see, is if it's so glaringly obvious. If the house is on fire, literally, he's saying the White House will be on fire. This is the only way that the US was going to find its heart, its quiet seed, was by literally burning itself to the ground and letting the new shoots grow. But you should be really optimistic, because none of these cards are ones of destruction to the point of, ultimate destruction. There's no terrible ending here. This is a fated occurrence. And if you stay strong and true to yourself, you are divinely protected, and it's going to be okay. And that even if you don't have the opportunity to show the courage of your convictions, that will be needed afterwards in the rebuilding. Voice your courage then. I hope this message gives you some hope from Arthur. Arthur doesn't normally give me messages that have times in them, that have such particular messages about what is happening right now. I thought I will put it up and let you all know, and I'd be really interested to hear your take in the comments.